Hello, this is the RPG Crawler, and welcome to another Indie Game Friday. This week, we'll be taking a look at Depths of Dread, which I covered in a First Impressions video back in April. It was just queuing up on Steam Greenlight back then, but it has since been released, and the developer was kind enough to provide me with a key. Developed and published by Mind Muscle Games, it was released on Steam very recently as of this recording, just a few days ago on July 12th, 2016, and is available for $7.99 US. This is important to keep in mind because I'm about to say some things on this. This is a single-player dungeon crawler with randomized dungeons, simple bounty quests, and turn-based combat. The storyline is virtually non-existent. Evil is pouring out of this area, so you should go into the dungeon to defeat it. Everything is stripped down to the bare minimum necessary to get you into the dungeon and go. There's basic vendors, an inn, and a party creation person outside, a quest board, and then an entrance to the dungeon. I'm not gonna lie, I had high hopes for this game when it was up for Greenlight, but I don't think that the developer came close to meeting them. A lot of the complaints I had with the demo, including some serious interface and control issues, have gone virtually unaddressed. Combat seems to have been minorly tweaked to be more balanced, and I appreciate that, and chests seem to be a bit more plentiful, but that's about it. In truth, I could probably just have taken the footage from the demo back in April and been done with it, but I thought I'd give this full release its fair shake. First, let's take a look at some of what this game gets right. There's 12 character classes, each of which advances according to a JRPG-style class setup. At each level, your ability scores go up, and on certain levels you gain new spells, skills, etc. It's not a bad way to handle the character classes, and with 12 classes you can mix and match them into a decent party layout with very little problem. Likewise, the loot system is nice. You can collect various bits of armor and weaponry from the dungeon, or buy some of the lower end stuff from the vendors up top, of varying quality. Many of these items have sockets, which you can place certain gems into, runes, and so forth, to grant that particular item additional abilities or enhance its existing attributes. This makes for a pretty decent amount of equipment customization for what the game is. The music isn't that bad either. The sound design is adequate for the game's overall tone, though I have to wonder if it wouldn't get old after a while. The problem is that while might never come, because some of the game's current flaws, and there are a number of them, might get in the way. First of all, some have complained about the game stuttering, slowing down, and requiring a bit of loading between each screen. I will admit it's not as fluid as it could be, but I believe this game is built on the RPG Maker engine, and as such it's about on par with other games that I've seen from that engine, so I'm going to give them a pass on that one. Especially with how much they've changed the way that the basic engine works. Furthermore, even when these slowdowns did happen, I hardly noticed them. They didn't really detract from the gameplay in the same way they might in a full action RPG. The second thing I want to address is the control system. The game attempts to let you use the mouse, the keyboard, or a controller to play, but the controllers only have partial support, and I found that when I tried to use a controller or some combination of the controller and something else, it actually broke the game's control scheme quite often. I had to reload at least 3 times while grabbing this footage for this review, just because my character stopped responding to the movement keys no matter which one I tried to use, the mouse, the keyboard, or the controller. The menu system is a little obtuse, although nothing spectacular for this sort of game, and overall the controls seem clunky even when compared to other RPG Maker games. I suspect this is because of the attempt to allow multiple control systems, although I could be wrong on that. Another problem is the artwork. I had hoped to see some improvement between Greenlight and release, but it was not to be. While the art itself is actually pretty decent, especially in the still frames, the animations are a little sparse, since it's basically a 2 or 3 frame animation system. I said in my first look, and I'll say it again, the sprites themselves are decent for a totally indie game, and it's the animation itself that brings the problem in. I've played some games with no animations, just sliding markers that slide around the board, and they actually tended to feel better simply because it seemed like a style choice. In this game, you kind of watch your party goose step around with a 2-frame animation cycle that doesn't quite go all the way, and it seems to detract and distract from the game itself. And yes, I know graphics aren't everything, but as I said, it's distracting, and that can be a problem. Finally, and this was my big problem with it during Greenlight, the dungeons are just kind of boring. I understand it's aiming for randomized dungeons and it builds them according to a certain rule set, but they're basically just interconnected boxes with very little set dressing, and it does almost nothing to set the mood. I like turn-based dungeon crawlers, whether they be random or static. I love the variety of classes and the deep customization of gear that the Depths of Dread game offers. I even like the very basic turn-based battle system in it. The simplification of town is not a problem, since that's what such grand titles as Diablo have done in the past, and the bounty/quest system is actually kind of neat, even if it's a little bit uneven. But I just can't recommend this game. At least not at the price listed. I'm sorry, I just can't. From the boring dungeon layouts to the issue which I can only attribute to the use of the RPG Maker engine for a type of game that's really not designed to support, it just doesn't seem worthwhile to me, especially when you look at the variety of other budget dungeon crawlers on Steam right now. Maybe if they took it and polished the animations up a bit, worked on that control system so it's not quite so quirky, squashed a few bugs, and then spiced up the dungeon layouts a bit, maybe then it'd be worth it. Or maybe at a lower price point than even the $7.99 that it's at now. I'm not sure how low I'd recommend it. I understand these people need to make some money, but without a bit more polish, it'd have to be lower than it is, at least for me. The game itself does have a kernel of merit in it. It's not all bad. It's not atrocious by any degree. There is a degree of effort in this game that I've seen. I just wish it had carried through from the Greenlight campaign to the actual release. I almost feel that if Mind Muscle Games had taken the effort they'd used to customize the engine they're using and written up something basic and more fitting to their game instead, it might have come out a bit better, since a lot of the game's issues do tend to stem from the engine that they're using. There's a talent to be found in this team, and I just hope that going forward they either polish this game a lot better or take the lessons learned and apply them to their next release, if there is one. And I hate to call a game out like that, and I usually try to be positive in these things, but this game has room for improvement. It's not terrible though, so I am going to leave this review as it is. I will leave a link in the description below. I certainly believe that, if you like turn-based dungeon crawlers, it's worth putting this on your wish list or your watch list, and just keep an eye out for it for when they have a sale, if they have a sale. For now, this has been the RPG Crawler with Indie Game Friday, Depths of Dread. If you like what you've seen, remember to leave a like, comment if you've got feedback, and subscribe for more RPG content. Until next time, take care and goodbye.